Welcome to In Pursuit with Pastor Bill.
Hey, I'm just a simple guy in pursuit of knowledge, wisdom, understanding, wild game, fish that swim under the ice, tender smoked meat, tasty grilled meat, and Denise.
In this hour, we are going to be talking about all of that and a whole lot more. Bill has been with Maranatha since 2005 and the campus pastor at Maranatha Chisago Lakes campus since 2011. Come along and join In Pursuit. Wake up, everybody. Bill's in the house.
We got a rooster.
We did. Pretty boy.
His name's Pretty Boy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's fun to have a rooster kicking around. Just walking around.
Crowing. You do a really good job at that.
It's not bad. Yeah. It's fun. Let's see. Who's here today? I'm Bill.
I'm Denise.
I'm James.
Hello, I'm Shane.
Hello, Puppet.
Hello.
That's great. Alice is at the office working hard. That's why we were coming in on two wheels, because we were working on a project. Yeah, last minute idea that I had for the weekend that kind of disrupts everybody's day when that happens. It's unbelievable.
It's good
terrible.
though. It's Thursday. It's not Saturday morning, so
What do
it's
you
good.
mean?
Whatever.
I don't understand.
Whatever.
Just a thought.
I don't
Just a
understand.
thought.
No, it's very, very fitting. Sometimes it's just how it works.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, anybody that's listening live, thanks for tuning in live to In Pursuit. We should be running on all cylinders today, right?
No kidding.
So check in with us again if you're listening. Shoot one of us a text. If you happen to catch this later in its podcast form, please don't ever hesitate to send us an email or a text if you know us, and we would just love to know that this is getting out there. We sure love doing it, and we love just trying to be intentional and giving you something to just mill around and maybe to pursue with us.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right, James?
Right.
What's new with you?
The Timberwolves lost. So,
No.
No.
yeah, I tore my clothes, wrote some laments, engaged in cultural lamentation or whatever.
Mourning. Yeah, you're in mourning.
Yeah.
Tore your cloak.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, that was sad. It was very sad.
Oh, so
expressed
they're not in
public
the
shock.
big one anymore?
No.
At all? Okay.
We're out.
They did.
But we got some good draft picks, so hopefully we'll get a point guard and a big with hands.
Yeah. Well, that'll be good. There's all kinds of time.
Mm-hmm.
You're young. You're young. Alice and Cindy are listening back at the office. That's nice. Shane, how you doing over there? Catch you off guard tying your shoe or something?
Doing great. Yeah, also a bit sad that the T-Wolves lost.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Coming up, we get to watch the Vikings lose next. So, I mean, it's all good. It's all good.
There's that Minnesota positivity.
Oh, yeah.
Like, well, I'm positive of what I can expect. Yeah.
Chris is listening in Wisconsin.
Nice.
Yeah.
Keeping us national. That's great. Hi, Chris. It's good to have you listening. Meg Ann is here with Miss Molly again. Great to have you guys listening. Thank you very much, ladies. Mm-hmm. Let's see. So we got our Wolves check-in. We're not going to discuss that a lot because I don't want people to hear you two grown men cry live on the radio.
Yeah.
Because I get it. That's up. So I remember, and Shane, you're not as old as I am, but you might remember. I remember when I was younger, like I would watch every Chicago Bulls game, like on TNT or whatever.
Yeah.
There was a Chicago channel that was on the cable box at the time. James used to just have a box.
We had one of those when I was little.
Okay. So I just that was my years of watching, and it's a fun thing to do, no doubt about it.
And it's nice when you're watching that particular team because that's 6 championships.
Mm-hmm.
So, can't go wrong there.
I always crack up when people the debate about who's the greatest of all time.
There's no debate.
Yeah,
I'm just
it's
like,
actually so annoying.
whatever. Like I just don't even know how you can have that conversation.
Do you
Right.
all three agree who was the greatest of all time?
I think so.
Oh, I'm
I would
sure
imagine
we
if we
do.
did 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Michael.
I think it's Jordan. Yeah.
Jordan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. From a basketball sense, it's like it just was unbelievable.
And a personality standpoint, too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I watched the special they did on him, and like I didn't know, of course, at that time, I didn't know the trash talker he was.
Oh, yeah.
Like the different times when like somebody would be coming against him and would trash talk him, and then he would come out and just blow them out of the water. Like, oh yeah, like on a mission.
Yeah, that was a big thing in the NBA that don't say anything to him. Be
Yeah.
nice to him because or else he will destroy you.
Destroy you. Yeah.
He would make a thing out of it.
Yeah. And
It's funny.
It is.
Like on the court,
Oh,
trash
yeah.
talk him, or in the media?
Both.
Oh,
Yeah, both. Where he would just that became his focus.
Yep. You tell him you're not going to score more than 10 points, and I'm going to score 50 on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do it.
And do it.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like he would do it.
That's the
you
same
know?
thing with Larry Bird, too. Like, if you hear about
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He's probably one of my favorites because, but that's another thing he was known for. Like, there's a whole bunch of NBA players that were on all these shows just like telling stories. And yeah, it's fun. It's fun to listen to.
Yeah, when they're talking about playing against him, like he would tell them, okay, I'm going to go left, I'm going to do a crossover, and I'm going to shoot from the corner, and there's nothing you can do about it. And then he would do it, and he would score. Yeah.
Larry Bird would do that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you go way back and you hear like Magic Johnson talking about how you know like, there's this white guy who's supposed to be pretty good,
Yeah.
and, you know, and then he played against him.
Yeah.
This white guy can play.
Yeah. One of my
cool.
favorite stories was like they were talking about he went to the opposing team's bench and said to the coach, and he was like, "Man, you guys are offending me," or something like that. And then
Because who was guarding him?
Yeah, and he said, "Y'all put a white guy on me."
Yeah. It's just I agree, James. It's fun to listen to that kind of banter. And, you know, here's the thing. Even like this little conversation here, like in the day and age we're living in, like you almost got to be careful with even this conversation because people are so quickly and easily offended. You listen to those guys talk about each other back then, and there's love, and there's camaraderie, and there's sportsmanship, and there's competitiveness, and it's like this is just the way it was, you know.
A lot more mental fortitude back then, I think.
Oh yeah, I would agree with you. Yeah. People weren't so thin-skinned.
Well, we were at the point where if they weren't ripping on you, they didn't like you.
Yeah.
Like your best friends were the ones that were the meanest to you, you know, and that's where you actually honed your skills and able to then be mean to somebody else. But you loved them. You still hugged them.
Yeah. There's a guy at church. If I don't tease him enough, like he'll come to me kind of his head kind of hanging and be like, did I do something?
Right? Yeah.
Like he's worried about it. Yeah. Well, that's good to know that we need to give you two a harder time
Yeah.
because we love you.
Heather's listening today live.
Heather.
Yep.
Heather whom?
Heather Warren.
Oh, Heather's listening. Wonderful.
Offer your husband my condolences as well for the Wolves. We talked about it.
Oh, did you?
We talked about it this last week.
Oh, that's funny.
That is funny.
That's good stuff. Yeah. It's an interesting time that we're living in. You know, in our culture, even in the church, just how we kind of touched on this last weekend in the messages, just how easily offended we all are, and we just fly off the handle. You know. Just interesting. Maybe that'll even come up today in what we're in pursuit of.
Don't you think that sometimes that response is in response to the easily offended person that you offended? It's like, you got so offended because I said this. Well, guess what? You said something that offended me too, and I didn't respond that way until you decided to do that. So everybody's getting offended, so you got to jump in. Otherwise, you're the only one that offended somebody.
Yeah.
And that's sad.
Yeah. It is sad. Yeah. I agree.
Sad.
Interesting times we're living in.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, before we get to our topic, we got to talk about smoking stuff again.
You guys got to hear this one.
Yeah, I told Shane I don't know if I told you about this.
Okay.
Did I? Have
know.
I talked to you since Sunday about
I don't think
smoking
so.
things? So Sunday night, I think I touched on this actually last week a little bit. We were looking forward to Sunday evening. One of my daughters and her boyfriend came over with my mom and dad, and we just hung out. Beautiful weekend. By the way, one of the best Memorial Day weathers that I can remember.
Fabulous.
I mean, it was just like, it was perfect weather for being outside, being by the fire.
Yeah.
Just a beautiful, beautiful weekend.
Yeah.
So Sunday night, Tanner, Madison's boyfriend, picked up from a butcher down in Edina, if that tells you anything, 5 ribeyes and brought them up to the house, and we smoked them. And these steaks were, like, I cannot remember a better steak that I've had in my entire life.
Wow.
Of all the meat. And I eat meat once in a while.
Yeah, you do.
But like, seriously, like I was so pleased because I was kind of nervous because he was very excited about these ribeyes.
Yeah. And
obviously they weren't cheap. You know, it was very generous of him to bring these up, but they're like 1.5 inch thick cut steaks, good size steaks.
Yeah. Like over a pound each, I think.
I think so. Yeah. And so I was kind of nervous about smoking these because I mean, I like smoking things, but I'm not great at it. I wouldn't say, you know, it's not like I'm this experienced barbecue guy or anything. But we smoked these, and it was unbelievable. So here's what we did. We put some salt and pepper on them, a pretty liberal amount.
Yeah, it was a lot.
They had fun just salt and peppering them. And so then we put them in the smoker, had it set at 225, and just use like just a general pellet. It's like a combination pellet.
It's the Signature.
Yep, the Signature brand. That's right. That's what you picked up. Yeah. So not a specific pellet flavor. And so we smoked these steaks. The smoker was at 225, and I have 4 meat probes, and Tanner had a new one that he got that attaches to his phone. So every steak had its own probe, and we put them in vertically, so the probe is in the center of the steak.
Horizontally.
Yeah, horizontally. Yeah, put them in horizontally, and so then we heated the steaks to 140. Like each steak specifically temped to 140. Now, and as I've talked about before, I love our front porch because the smoker sits there, and then right next to it's the Blackstone. It's so cool. And then there's a rooster. And then, so we once these steaks hit 140, I melted some butter on the Blackstone and then seared them for just like 1:15 seconds. I seared them on each side. Did that to every one of them, and then we let them rest for 10 minutes. And I'm telling you what, those
boys waiting 10 minutes for this meat, it almost killed them both. They just about died waiting.
It was killing us.
They said, this is worse than the whole cooking time. Sitting there with that meat done and waiting for them.
We set a timer, like we were counting down, like a stadium. That's awesome. 10. I mean, we were so excited about but we were trying to just be like, we want to do this right. Man, I just can't even tell you how good these steaks were.
That's crazy.
Every single bite.
Yeah.
Well, like so everybody, like Mom and Dad, I think split one, and Madison had a half of Tanner's first steak, and then we each had one, I think.
I split.
Okay, and so, like, at one point after we all sat down, we all had meat on our plates. I look around a few minutes in, that's all anybody had on their plates was these steaks. Like, we had French fries we had warmed up, and we had a salad and
watermelon and potato salad. Yeah. Like,
there was other food. It like everybody was just in their steak.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because it was constantly like someone would take a bite and it was like, oh, this is so good. And then someone else would take a bite. Oh, this is the best steak. Oh, this is tender. At one point, I think Madison was like, Tanner, you got to try this bite. Like, she took it, it was all about that. I mean, it was
so good.
It was sweet.
It was so good. Aaron and Nina are listening live.
Well, hi, kids. Good to have you joining us.
Oh, they're in the middle of Maine.
What?
Whoa.
They must be on vacation.
Must be, yeah.
Good for you guys.
Enjoy.
Again,
be safe.
International.
National.
No, national.
National. We're an East Coast show.
East Coast.
So, yeah, that steak was just really outstanding.
Yeah.
The next thing I want to try is, I think, Shane, when we were talking about it, you were telling me, right? Weren't you telling me about the melted
The way
butter?
that I sear?
Well, the way you sear, and then
Oh, yeah, the butter and garlic. Oh, yeah, that's what I have to use. The butter and the garlic and the onions.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I do.
And you get it's the best flavor. I love it. And then just make sure you're pushing real hard on the steak to get a good sear.
When Shane was showing me, he's like, here's what I do. It's like he stands up and like pushing that, making sure every bit of that steak hits that griddle, you know.
That's the key. You can't have any juices escaping somewhere. No.
Because you sear...
When it's raw.
Before, yeah. I let it sit out on the counter for a while, and then I season it, and then I go from there straight to a super, super hot skillet.
Yeah.
But then don't you have melted butter that you're drizzling over top
while
too?
You're doing it. You're holding it down, and then that's what I was saying, to get animated about it, because it'll hurt. So you kind of got to get a little amped up, because the juices are going to be hitting your hand, and it's going to hurt. So you got to suffer through, because it's going to be worth it. It's so good.
It's awesome.
Oh, you guys are funny.
Yeah. We got to get the grill out at church more often.
Yeah.
We do. It's got to be an outreach we can do.
It's got to be.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it was just, it was good food. Mm-hmm. It was good food. So that was our smoking experience. And then have you had hobos? I think I talked to you about the hobos. Have you had hobos? Mm-hmm. Oh, we had hobos Monday. So Monday we get up, and then we had pancakes with our homemade syrup, which was good.
So good.
2 pounds of bacon.
Nice.
And then we went to the Memorial Day service in Chisago on Memorial Day, which was very nice. There was a kid there. So when I was in high school, I played trumpet, and there were years I traveled around to the different grave sites to play taps, because the color guard goes out. Excuse me. Thank you. And there's a high school kid that I think he did it last year too, but he was there playing his trumpet and playing taps at the service. Mm-hmm. Boy, I'm telling you what, this kid does an amazing job. Like,
so good.
Somehow we got to find out who that was and send him a card, because I just want this kid to know, man, that you can, if you get through the rest of it without tears and emotion, because it's an emotional thing when you pause and remember. Yeah. But when he's doing that, and man, I'm telling you, just as crystal clear as can be.
Oh yeah, and pauses. Mm-hmm. Like goosebumps. Yep. Just goosebumps.
Yeah, it's very, very
incredible.
Powerful. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So then when we got back from doing that, we made hobos. So listen to what a hobo is, because you got to try this. So you take, all of your ingredients are raw: hamburger, potatoes, carrots, onions, corn. You can use zucchini. And then you just have all your fixings out, and then everybody makes their own based on what they want in their hobo. Mm-hmm. And you just have a piece of tin foil, and you put your meat in, and your potatoes, and your whatever, your corn, your carrots, your onions. You fold it up, you keep one end open, and you pour a little water in there. Oh, and then you put butter in too, because everything's better with butter.
Yeah, butter makes everything better.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
Salt and pepper.
Yeah. And so then you pour a little water in, you fold up the ends, and now we had a campfire going. In our campfire, there's this metal bar that comes over like a hook with a grate hanging that you can spin over the fire. Mm. And then you lay all these tinfoil things right over the fire. So now you're cooking it over your campfire in this tinfoil with butter and salt and pepper and all these fixings. You let it cook for a while, pull it out when the meat and the potatoes are done. And I don't know what is so magical about this, but it is out of this world. Wow. Oh yeah, I'm not even kidding.
It's just
simple
magical.
As that.
Eating outside and over the fire. Yeah, there's something magical about it, because it is fabulous.
It is. It's really amazing. Like whenever we go camping, we have hobos. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great thing. So yeah, I would highly encourage you, try the hobos. Try the hobos. Yeah. All right, we gotta get moving. Look at that. We're almost halfway done already. That's unbelievable.
Crazy. So much to talk about.
There's so much meat and food to talk about. Man,
so much.
We got to do a second hour where it's just food.
Yeah.
That's a possibility.
We really do. We're very excited about dinner tonight, but I'm not going to tell you what we're having. But we're very excited about dinner tonight. Yeah. Could get hairy, but we're very excited about it.
Oh, that was good.
Yeah. So here's the deal. We are going to, the name of this show, before we get to our bottom of the hour break and our word of the week, the name of the show is In Pursuit of a Good Fight. In Pursuit of a Good Fight. That's why I rolled my sleeves up, James.
Nice.
Yeah. And here's what I mean. So the last 2 episodes, we've talked about relationships and just good things to have to enrich our relationships. And I think a lot of what we've talked about has to do with, if you're engaged, if you're married, just to make that relationship everything can be. We've touched on relationships with kids last week when we talked about the love languages. We talked about the importance even of knowing your children's love languages and what they really need. And so kind of on the heels of that, I think it's important to talk about fighting and fighting fair, but I don't think that this is a specific topic to relationships. I think that we've really lost the art of arguing, and kind of like what we were talking about at the beginning of the show with how easily offended we are. Just as a society, and again, in relationships, in the church, it really doesn't matter. We've just gotten where we're so easily offended that we just can't argue.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
And that we're so, like, if you think about politics, and the list can be long, but we're so divided that anybody that has a different opinion than us, we just want, it's like we don't want anything to do with them. We don't want to have the conversation. We don't want to have the debate. We don't want to argue, it's like, so instead we just hate them and we're done with it. And I think that it's just such a messed up way of looking at it. I know there are some relationships, don't have anything to do with that person. I get that. This is the broad brushstroke of, in general, we've lost the ability to just debate, to argue.
Well, and there aren't a lot of, because of that, because of the inflamed argumentative whatever that's going on in our world, there's not a lot of examples in people's worlds of arguing correctly.
Yeah.
You just see the shred them, get mad at them, hate them,
call them
yelling.
names.
Yeah. You see that. And people need the example in front of them how to argue, because you can say, don't lose your cool, stay on topic, but until you watch it in action and how successful it can be, it's hard to do because all we see is the other.
Yeah. Just volatile and combative.
Yelling, signs in hand, yelling at each other.
Yeah.
That's the stuff that gets put out there in media. And
because it's attention grabbing.
Yeah.
It's just when everybody's yelling and cussing and swearing and calling names, that's attention grabbing.
It is. So the camera goes right there.
Yep.
And we don't have examples of safe arguing or safe debating.
Right. Yeah. Well, and to know that, hey, you know what, we can debate this and then we can still be friends afterwards. And again, don't get mad. I know this is a broad brushstroke. Mm-hmm. There are some people, you don't have relationships with them. But in general, you can debate and still live in the same world together. I was at an event, and this is many years ago, and I've said this different times because, so this has got to be, it could be 10 or 15 years ago possibly. But I heard Ben Carson make this statement where as a country, even as people, we've completely lost the ability to argue. And the loss of that ability is so detrimental as a culture, as a community. We've just lost it. And we need to be able to get that back.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, It's important.
Yeah. So today, that's kind of what I'd like to dig into is just thoughts of maybe things to consider, things to remember as we look at. Let's look. I mean, I'm in pursuit. I want a good fight sometimes. I like to debate people and not fight people, but argue with people and hear a different point of view from somebody that can stay cool, that you can have that conversation without the blow-ups. It's very educational.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know?
I have no desire to debate with people. I'm not a debater, but life is very difficult to get through without debating with someone about something.
Without having the conversations. Yeah. And even, so part of this is going to be relationship, because like you and I, we need to know how to get past these things. We need to know how to have the debate, the argument, or the fight, if you will. Mm-hmm. We need to. James, you have to be able to have that conversation. Mm-hmm. Shane on ChristianMingle.com. I'm just kidding.
Couldn't even get the words out.
I couldn't get it out. Oh, it just cracks me up. We were coming up with some names for what Shane would be on ChristianMingle.com.
What?
Yeah. He's not on ChristianMingle.com. I'm just giving him a hard time. But yeah, so we all have relationships. I think it's important that we do learn how to do this and just kind of get better at it.
Yeah, for sure.
Amen?
Yeah.
Amen.
Amen. Well, right now, before we take our bottom of the hour break, let's listen to our word of the week.
Word of the week. This is the part of the show where Denise and Bill learn new words in pursuit of knowledge and understanding of the English language, and so they can sound smarter. It's good. It's good. We get to sound smarter. So today's word of the week, I have capricious. Capricious the definition of capricious is impulsive or unpredictable. And then this word has some really cool stuff like loquacious had last week, the did you know part. Huh. So this is the adjective capricious and its close relation, the noun caprice, both come via French from the Italian word capriccio, which has disputed origins. Capriccio originally referred to a sudden desire, but not to a sudden desire, but to a sudden shiver of horror, and likely comes from the Italian capo, meaning head, or riccio, the word for hedgehog. Isn't this interesting?
Wow.
Yeah. The implication was that someone who shuddered in fear or horror was said to have a hedgehog head, meaning that the person's hair stood on end like the spines of a hedgehog.
All right.
I know, isn't this just so cool? The link between a whim and a shiver of horror is notably tenuous, though, and a possible link to the Italian capra, meaning goat, has also been suggested, given the whimsy goats seem to employ in their gambling. Gambling is a different word. It means frolic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're gambling goats.
You piqued my interest for a second.
For a second, I had you. Whatever its origins, capriccio came to mean whim and fancy, which directly relates to its uses today. Something done in a capricious manner is done on a whim, as in a capricious decision to join the circus.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. So what do you think of our word of the week?
I like it.
Capricious?
Yeah.
We all know that if we don't use our new word, we lose our new word. So I would like to use capricious in my own sentence.
I can't wait.
It's not bad. Rarely does Bill act capriciously. Most everything he does is well planned and thought out.
Oh, that's not bad.
No, it's not bad
I
at
was
all.
expecting something a little more brutal, like fighting words.
No fighting words. And that's our word of the week.
You're listening to In Pursuit with me, Pastor Bill, a production of WAJC, Your Life Radio on 88.1 and 91.7 FM. WAJC is owned and operated by Maranatha Assembly of God in Forest Lake, Minnesota. If you would like to visit Maranatha Chisago Lakes campus, we have 4 weekend services to choose from. Visit maranathachisago.org to learn more and to check out some past messages. I'm going to go home and battle Pretty Boy.
I was going to say, I think now I have 2 roosters in my yard.
He's inspired me to be a little more vocal.
Yeah.
All right, we got to keep going here. But before we do, I just want to remind you all, if you're listening, there's a lot of great stuff happening at both of our Maranatha campuses in Forest Lake and in Chisago City. The biggest thing coming up this Sunday at the Forest Lake campus, once again, is the blessing of the bikes. I haven't even looked at the weather, but I'll tell you this, man, if it's a nice day out, 1,000 motorcycles will be here, I bet. I mean, just a huge event. It's fun. There's music. There's food. It is an outstanding time. So please come and check that out. And then, as always, go to realchurch.org to find out more about the church, the weekend services, the midweek services. They have a great kids program here, outdoor stuff, Extreme Kids at the Forest Lake campus. And then at the Chisago campus, we have a lot of in the community stuff. On the 11th of June, we have our all-church barbecue where all 4 of our services get together for a nice evening together. The 18th of June, we are at Harmony in the Park in Lindstrom, where we bring all kinds of fun and just just be in the community. We have a motorcycle ride coming up in June 29th. I mean, there's just all kinds of stuff. Our Wednesday nights continue throughout the summer, so go to MaranathaChisago.church to check out everything that is happening over there. But let's get back into our fair fighting.
In pursuit of a good fight.
In pursuit of a good fight, yes. So just a few things, and again, man, the time just flies. Oh my gosh, the time flies. I watch that countdown clock. Like I gotta talk faster. I gotta get louder, get angrier. That was awesome. Play that backwards.
Yeah. Who knows? Who knows what she just said?
What you just said. All right. So when we think about fighting fair, I think one of the things that I'm reminded of, or I think it's important to remember for couples, and again, whether it's us, it's you, whoever it is, everybody argues, and I think we live in such a highlight reel world with social media that we look and we see all of these married couples that are on vacation and in their yards and holding their chickens and grilling meat, and it's like everybody's life is perfect except ours because we argue. And I think it's important just to note, like, everybody argues. Everybody has these little fights. And I think it's a valuable thing to remember. And actually, I think it's amazing. It's extremely important that we argue in relationships. Not that we have knockdown, drag-out fights, but there's some times where I think, okay, if we're never having difficult conversations, are we being honest with each other?
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you?
It does.
Denise is looking at me like, wait a minute,
Yeah, no,
we don't fight that much.
We don't, but I agree. There are going to be moments when you need to talk something out.
Yeah.
We don't. I mean, if you're arguing all the time,
You might
I don't
have a
think
problem,
that,
yeah.
there's a problem.
Yeah.
But we have a really good relationship, and still we've had some conversations that weren't fun.
Right. Yeah. And they're necessary to have because that's how you work through things and you keep resentment and wedges from driving in between you because, hey, this upsets me. Hey, this frustrates me. Hey,
Right. And if you don't deal with them, then like you said, that wedge, that picture of a wedge going in, just a tiny little chink there. The
tip of that wedge.
The tip of that wedge. If you don't talk about it right then, it just keeps going down.
Yep.
Gravity just pulls that baby down and it gets wider and wider. And so to talk about it and that's not always a fun conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because we're easily offended, we just avoid it because we don't want to upset the other person. Right?
Yeah.
And I don't want you to get mad, and I don't want to get mad, and so we avoid it. But if we just learn to do it correctly, then we're not so afraid of the difficult conversations.
Right.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And the other thing to remember, I think, with this is that we are all different. And this is last week at the end of the show, I think you brought this up, and we put it on hold till this week.
Okay.
So like when you and I are talking, and actually I just shared this with some people yesterday, like when we are talking, I think quickly, I talk quickly, I have a lot of words. I have a lot of words.
Yeah.
And
I remember one time we were listening to Ben Shapiro, and you said to me, "Can you imagine being married to that guy?" And I said, "Yes, I can."
That's funny.
Because you think fast, you talk fast, you're very logical.
Yeah. But then there's a flip side too, where you are a crockpot.
I am a crockpot. Yeah, I think slow. I don't have a lot of words. Yeah.
And you like to think through things.
Yeah.
And so that's a part where, again, you have two totally different people coming together trying to work through a difficult situation.
Right.
And then we got to remember, hey, we're all a little different. Mm-hmm. So I'm sitting there, and if I'm fired up, if I'm upset or defensive or whatever, and I just want, okay, we got to deal with this now. And I remember when we were first dealing with this stuff, it was like, okay, I just need to take some time. And my initial response is, nuh-uh, like we're doing this now. And it was hard for me though to say, okay, this is what we need to do, because I think my initial reaction is, wait a minute, no, we have to settle this. You're going to walk away. We're never going to come back to it. Now we have this issue between us that's lingering.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But what you did, and I think is super important for anybody that's like you, I don't think it's bad to say, hey, I got to take a minute. I got to walk away. But then you also are responsible to come back to the conversation.
Right.
Like, it's not up to me to now hunt you down or chase you down or press you into coming back. That's where it falls on, okay, when you've had your time, when you've thought it through, that's great. And now there is a trust that when you do say, hey, I need time, it might be 5 minutes, it might be an hour or two. I mean, I think it's important to be like, okay, you got to be reasonable
Right.
with the time you're taking, because in the meantime, like, I'm being tortured.
Yeah.
Boiling.
What's that?
You're just like, it
stews.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you end up filling in the blanks now. Like, you it's another statement you said. When you just leave somebody hanging, then all that person is left with is, okay, I got all these questions. Now I'm going to come up with the answers on my own. And the answers I come up with are pretty good chance they're going to not be accurate answers. They're probably going to be the absolute worst case scenario.
Right.
And so now that's in that time, you try not to, but the reality is you end up just filling it in. And so for you to have that time you need, me to understand, okay, this is the most beneficial thing for us right now.
Right.
But you also have such a great understanding of, okay, now your responsibility is also to come back to the conversation, having thought about it, cooked on it, and now we continue it.
Right.
And it's, for us, it's proven to be a pretty fruitful thing.
Yeah. And there are times that I would come back saying, you know what? I've thought about it and you're right. I remember the first time I did that to you.
No, just kidding.
Actually, it wasn't. It was like I came back and I was like, you know what? You're right. I was wrong. And I'm going to try to never do that again. And you were like, what? I've got so many more words to talk about this. And I just didn't need to talk about it anymore.
Yeah.
I was like, any more words you say and you're just like rubbing my face in the fact that I was wrong. And so you were ready to keep talking.
Yeah.
And I just said, yeah, you're right. And you just kept talking. It's like,
I was like,
I don't need to talk about this anymore because you had so many words left in you. Yeah.
I get a lot of words sometimes.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
No, it's good. It's a good thing. And I love your words, but I remember that first time
Now
that
you bring
happened.
it up,
I was like, that was hard for him. It was hard for me to come and say, you know what, I messed that up. And that it was hard for you to not be able to talk about it more.
Yeah, it was. It really was. I went and talked to my chickens then.
We didn't have chickens
We didn't
then.
have them yet. So anyway, that's just another piece. Remember that we're all different. When you're in the midst of something, a debate, an argument, a fight, I think one of the most difficult things is that we don't make it worse. And this can be relationship, it can be friends, coworkers, you can be talking politics, religion, I mean, anything like that. When you're talking with somebody, we have to, like let's not make it worse, you know? And that's one of the things to me that when we get into name calling and when we get into personal digs and tearing people down and going after character, stuff like that, now I think what we're doing is we're just making it worse.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
That's huge.
Yeah. And we're creating an environment. This is a big thing to me. A really big thing. I tell this to couples all the time.
It's so real, too. It's so real. I know exactly what you're going to say. It's so big.
It's very big. The environment that you create when someone brings something to you is an unbelievably important thing. And we probably talked about it here before. Is this what you thought I was going to say?
Yep.
So if every time Denise has something and she brings it to me, I go berserk, there's such a slim chance she's going to keep bringing things to me.
Yeah.
And is not my goal for her to be honest with me?
Yes.
And like same thing, coworkers, friends, family members, kids, you know. I think it's so important that we keep that in mind. Okay, wait, what you're about to say to me, that it might hurt, but doggone, let's not be so easily offended and thin-skinned that people can't bring something to us, a correction, a thought, something that you maybe have done or said that hurt them. I mean, let's be okay. Like, I want to grow. I want to be corrected, you know?
Toughen up.
Yeah, toughen up. That's right. That's right. But I do think it's important to consider the environment you create when someone brings something to you. Right?
Yes, and it takes practice.
Yeah.
Because it's hard when somebody brings you something that
Yeah.
is something you did wrong or something that offended. It's hard to not automatically get defensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And feel attacked and
Yeah.
go back. Yeah.
So there's a learning curve.
It is. Yeah. There is a learning curve. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just think that it's such a valuable thing. Like, don't make it worse, you know, like especially as Christians, like, you know, self-control it's a huge thing.
Yeah.
And I think we talk about self-control a lot when it comes to things like habits, you know. Mm-hmm. But I think that self-control of our tongue, the Bible talks about taming the tongue and how difficult yet important it is. I mean, there's so much there. Like, let's exhibit some self-control. And somehow within this, where we're trying, let's not make this one thing we have to talk about worse.
Yeah.
Somehow in this, like in the relationship sense, you got to remember that, like, in theory, you love this other person that you now are arguing with.
Yes.
You might not like them in that moment, which I think that's okay, right?
Absolutely.
In that moment or in that situation, it's like, man, I don't like this. Mm-hmm. But you love that person. Mm. And the number of times that, like, I've experienced it and I've talked to different people where it's like, I don't even remember what started this, because now there are so many layers because all we did was made this worse. Mm-hmm. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I do.
I think another thing to be cautious about too, one lesson that I've learned and why I need to be on Christian.com is to always remember, like you said, don't make things worse, right? Even if you've been told you're already right and you still just keep on going, right? But then that leads to ultimately, like what you were talking about, is in the end, a lot of people only remember how they felt during that conversation. They don't remember what the fight was about. They don't remember what started it, and maybe how it ended, but what they really, really, really remember, how did I feel during that conversation? How did you make me feel during that? So like you said, that feeling, that environment, that's a huge deal, because a lot of what we do is based off of, again, the emotions and how are we feeling, you know? So that's
a good point.
It's huge.
Yeah. And that's the environment you create. Do I feel safe to bring this to you based on past, right? Is that kind of what you're referring to, that type of a situation?
Yeah, or you know, the person could be, you know, if you're having an argument and you won, but now you're making them feel dumb because you just keep on driving the point home, or like you said, just making sure you're not making things worse. Trying your very best to stay as calm as you can and be polite, be kind, but at the same time still get your point across.
That's what I was just going to say.
Yeah, you still have to voice your opinion and get that out there, but you have to do it in a respectful way.
Yeah, exactly. Especially as a Christian, I believe it, you know. Yeah, there still has to be. You can fight, but fight fair, fight right. Let's do this right.
Yeah. Just remembering who you're representing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Even, and I think more so in some of life's most difficult life's most difficult situations, you know, that we're still representing him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when people look at you the most. Oh, look at this Christian. Look at this horrible situation they're going through. Oh, but they're still smiling. They're still laughing. They're still joyful. They're still kind to others. Yeah. They're still easy to for me to come bring and talk to about things. And
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And to be aware, like Denise has brought up in the past, like there are some people close to us and just out in the public, like they'll know you're a follower of Christ and they'll just want to poke and prod and push and push and push and push just so that they can get you to finally snap.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then they just find joy in it.
Yeah.
That's messed up. You know, it's just messed up because we want to be self-controlled, but it's like still human, you know, and they'll push and push and push, just baiting, jigging that fishing pole, just waiting to get you to bite on it, you know. We got to be smart. Wise as serpents and innocent as doves. We got to be so smart. So we kind of touched on keeping the main thing. Like, don't lose sight of, like, what is this about? Why are we having this conversation? What is the topic at hand here? Not to get carried away and drag down all of these different bunny trails and all this stuff, but let's keep the main thing, because when you do that, Now, again, whether it's friends or coworkers or in a relationship, you actually can move forward in it because you kept the main thing. You know, you stayed focused. When you go down all these different bunny trails, now all of a sudden what happens is you completely lose sight of and miss an opportunity of real growth from that initial situation or issue, right?
Right.
You with me?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just keeping the main thing.
I think that can be one of the most detrimental things in having a conversation, a difficult conversation, is you get off the topic that started the conversation.
Yeah.
Because you start feeling like you're losing the fight.
Yeah.
And so you bring other things in to bolster your...
That's me. I think I'm better at it now with you, but I would come up with like I would automatically feel a defense, and so I would come up with Exhibit A and Exhibit B and 3 witnesses and Exhibit C all the way down to Exhibit W. Here's all of my evidence why what you're feeling is wrong, instead of just listening to it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
That's something I had to work through too.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. 'Cause I don't know. It's just easier to like get mad than it is to hear it out. So
yeah. Well, and to be humble and say, you're right. I could have been wrong in that, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a slim chance, but I could have been wrong in that.
Yeah.
And I think it's important. Humility is important. Kind of leads us to the next thing I have written down here, which is, and again, I think it's something that we don't do very much of anymore, is in these conversations, you need to listen. Like you have to listen to that other side. You have to listen to the person so that you can hear, like, what are they talking about? There's so many people that I talk to, and it's not in an argumentative sense, but just conversations where you can tell they're not listening to a word you're saying. They just want you to stop talking so they can start talking again.
They're just waiting for your mouth to stop doing that thing so they can start talking again.
Yeah. Yep. And that's I think we miss that a lot. So that's in life in general, but even more so when we're going through a difficult conversation or a debate or fighting or whatever. It's like the more you listen and pay attention, you might even really pick up on the heart of the issue, and now you can speak to and help heal the heart of the issue, you know? But to listen, James 1:19, my brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. And that's such great words for us to just consider. It's like, do I hear it when you bring something to me? Or am I just, boom, I'm upset because you're attacking me and now I got to build my defense and where's all my exhibit boards and my videos and all of my witnesses because I'm going to prove to you you're wrong. Instead of like, it's not always about right and wrong. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm more worried about being right than I am worried about bringing healing. And I think when we don't listen, we miss the opportunity to help guide, help share. We miss an opportunity for ourselves to grow. And I again, if we want to have a good fight, if we're going to fight, let's listen, for crying out loud.
Right. To grow from the situation, I think that's the goal. It's like if the fight is happening, something wrong happened.
Yeah.
Whether it was
intentional or not.
Yeah.
So to listen to one another, and for married folks out there, for all you old married folk out there, or soon to be,
44 days.
This is but who's counting? James is counting. But I would encourage you with this, even in the midst, and I think especially in the midst of your difficulties, remember your vows. Something I tell people at every wedding is the vows they're exchanging are not for that day. Like when I get to be part of a ceremony, it'll come down and right as part of my little message, I always say this, in just a few minutes, you're going to exchange vows. And the vows you're exchanging are not for today. I mean, it's the day you exchange it, so it's your anniversary. You better not forget that, James. But your vows, the promises you're making, they're for times like this when life is really hard, when you're really struggling, when you're looking across that kitchen table, it's 3 a.m., you've been crying and arguing, and you look at each other, and in most cases, it's not a matter of if that's going to happen, but when it's going to happen. Because life gets you. And you're looking across the table and you're like, I don't know if this is worth it anymore. It's at that moment that those vows come out, where you say, no, it is worth it, because I promised you on that day that I would fight for us. I promised you that I would cherish you, that I would adore you, and that I would protect you. And in this moment, I'm saying it's worth it, because I promised you, even in these hard times. And that, I think, for couples, in the most difficult of times, that's when your vows come into play. That's when you uphold the promise. I'm going to pray. Father, right now, I just pray for anybody out there that might be struggling in their relationship. God, I pray that you would lead them to people to give them help, that you would speak to their hearts. God, that you would help them to find healing and direction. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you all for listening. I hope you have an amazing week. Bye.
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 Thanks for joining In Pursuit with Pastor Bill and me, Denise. We hope you will tune in next Thursday at noon as the pursuit continues. In Pursuit is a production of WAJC, Your Life Radio, on 88.1 and 91.7 FM. WAJC is owned and operated by Maranatha Assembly of God in Forest Lake, Minnesota. The opinions expressed here are not necessarily those of the owner.